Hi everyone, I am Tara and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel. As I stated in my title, we're going to talk about moving forward from trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma, and how it all impacts not only yourself, but it impacts family. Now, in some circumstances, trauma goes sometimes undetected, or it causes havoc in a family. And what happens sometimes, as you all know, is it gets buried. So it doesn't get addressed. And when it doesn't get addressed, then it has an impact, not only on us, like mentally, but also physically and spiritually. I know from experience, and I know a lot of you know from experience. And the biggest part is when you have trauma in a family, of a family member or the whole family or what have you, when it's not addressed, it bubbles up. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds because it's not being addressed. So what ends up happening is the person or people have trouble moving forward. It's like trying to bury it. You can't bury it. We go to counselors and what have you, and you keep going to a counselor and you're wondering, like, well, they're not helping me. It's not getting rid of the trauma. It's more of, are you letting go of the trauma? Are you able to address it? Is there other factors keeping it from being addressed? It's more when you try burying it, you become more angry and bitter. And when sometimes we forget it, but when it comes back, it seems like it's tenfold. And sometimes it comes out in angry ways. I've said in a different video, like if there's hostility in a family, okay, and we're going to go right back to the beginning where the gods, okay, and I've said this before. It started with the gods, and if the gods can change, then the people can change, because the gods were not all that great themselves. They had their family rivalry. They had their jealousy. If you look at the back to Gaia and Uranus, okay, they had the cruel husband, wouldn't let the children out. So one of the children cut off Uranus's testicles. Okay, so it became an all in all out war. Everybody was angry with each other. Kind of like a civil war of what's happening right now. We're not agreeing with each other, but we're also not allowing each other to sort through traumas in some aspects, because we just figured that, well, you got to bury it. But by burying it, it is the worst thing you can do, because those traumas are what are your cancers, the stuff that's hurting your body, because we're taking stuff for the cancers, okay, for the mental health issues, for the illnesses, because when you're stressed and you're depressed, and what happens, you can go one of two ways. You can stop eating, Or whatever. The other part that happens is we start eating comfort food. So we get sick from that. If things were addressed like they should be, and we need to learn these tools ourselves. It took me a long time to learn the tools. But after I started like addressing the traumas that I was feeling and realizing, okay, it no longer runs my life. So I've become happier and not so bitter. Like I'm still going through things, and still it's the shadow purging, because we're looking at ourselves with the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, because trauma causes more trauma, because then sometimes we create trauma for ourselves or others because we're so angry. And when you have conflict, whether it be within yourself or with others, we need to learn to help one another get through the conflict, to help resolve, not pick favorites. I know that when I was younger, okay, my trauma, some of my family members think that I left home because I was a little brat and I wanted my own way. When actuality, that was not why I left home at such a young age. I left home because I couldn't live close to the person that caused my original trauma. I couldn't be there because it was a constant reminder. And then when I left, because it never got addressed, and I'm not blaming anyone for that, because I could have like had it addressed, and every time I did have it addressed, it was more of along the lines, well, how did that make you feel? It's like, well, as I said before, how would it make you feel? And we all need somebody who can sit down with us and help us really work through it. And when you don't have somebody helping you work through your traumas, like I said, it becomes a cancer, and then more things keep happening because you're not letting it go. So you're dwelling on, so it keeps coming at you, whether it be the same or something from a different direction. It's like the traumas of past lives. We may not remember them, but there's something that triggers us. I know some are they're the fear of drowning, but they've never had an experience of drowning. Sometimes not that they even remember. There's a part of us that may not remember a trauma, but there's that other part that does, and that's why we end up becoming bitter in some ways. And then we start blaming other people because they didn't help us, or one thing or another. I've talked to people a lot, and a lot, like they've experienced, everybody's experienced it, but some more intense than others, and they continue to experience it throughout their life. And I'm not saying that people don't get over it, because we do, and that's what I'm here to say. You can get over it. It's a matter of just letting it go, because they say, well, it makes you who you are today. Well, okay, my traumas, they made me very bitter. And I didn't want to be that bitter person. So I had to deal with it. And it wasn't a psychologist that helped me. It was actually my enlightenment and my ability to be a telepath, because I got in connection with other telepaths who were able to communicate with me to help me through my traumas. I scream, I cry, I still do it. And you've heard of anchors, where like other spirits come to you to help them move on, to heal. We are each other, so we're able to help one another heal. But when you're trying to heal and everybody else comes and they're like slamming you because you're trying to address it, then it makes it difficult to heal. When in actuality, everyone should be coming together to figure out a way to help the person to be able to heal, instead of treating them like they're crap or telling them to shut up because it's inconvenient for them. Well, I'm here to say, think of how inconvenient it is for the person who experienced it. It's a matter of like, sometimes we don't even remember why we're angry with each other. So you got to figure it out. Sometimes it's due to past lives, because we're all brought together right now because we're here to sort things out. When I left, I kept leaving because I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to deal with it. So I became what is called a runner. Trying to run away from my own problems, but as I was trying to run away from my own problems, I was creating more for myself because I wouldn't face it. It's the part of facing our fears and our trauma, our experiences that we don't like. There are fears. Sikirjoittajalla poima ahemiskyetuelle peletotoriata kriata teine kitiai. Se klenando kriata eskititi, kinimana emilianta koriamata kriata leskleant kriata te. Kiriana se shemia toyama eskrietoya la pidi bikonemikata to eskia. Tile nunune kanata taitole peletotoriaskarato teito nimikiria. Kimiana mulituria paria. Puriata eskiriata le kuriata tagi gutiti noin. Okay. Oh, okay. It's okay, Tara. This is kind of traumatizing sometimes. But it's happening for a reason. It's my way of helping others to move on. And some of you are thinking, well, how is that helping others? You jerking and going on. It's because others are passing through. It gets complicated sometimes, but when you start knowing what is happening, what you're going through, it becomes easier. I've been saying that, like, y'all know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and like, we're distracted from the beautiful things that are happening. I know someone gave me a picture today. They took it on their cell phone. Okay. And excuse me for a sec. See if I can get there. See if I can bring it up, because it was actually pretty freaky. Okay. Now, if you look, okay, this is the sky. Okay. I'm going to show you that. Hold on. I'm going to, oh, darn. Okay. Works for me. Okay. Do you see that? Shoot. Okay. I took a picture on my Facebook. This here is a planet next to the moon. And I can't bring it up any larger. But where is it? Oh, there. Can you see right along here? See right there? Okay. Those spots there, there are 3 planets going in front of the moon. Okay. When I seen that, I found that to be really, really freaky. Okay. Like, and then one other night, actually one other day, it was just Christmas Eve day, because I'm getting rid of my traumas. So I'm seeing more and more stuff that's going on. And a big part of it, okay, I was doing a video. And when I I did the video, and I stopped it, and then I took my phone and what have you to the kitchen, because I was going to face chat, like call someone to face chat with them. And there was no answer, and I did what I was doing. Then I went in and I sat on my couch, and I sat my phone in front of me, and I was going to try calling the person again, and it was like I was moving, but then it was like I was watching myself from a video that I had already done, which was really strange, because I thought I had already put it up and what have you. So I was standing, and when I was watching this, it was the start of my video that I was doing. And then all of a sudden, I walked away, and it was daylight. My room got right dark. The only thing you could see was the lights on my Christmas tree. You could see the Christmas tree, but the lights on the Christmas tree. You couldn't really see anything else. And then you could see the silhouette of my living room, of like me getting up and walking to my living room and sitting on my couch and what have you. And then all of a sudden, like, I come back, and I took my camera and I went out to the kitchen. Well, my video wasn't even like, it was really strange. It was so eerie. It was creepy, because I was out in the kitchen and I was like looking at my phone. But see, when you could see the lights on my tree, as you can see, the lights on my tree, they don't blink. But in this video, my lights were blinking. So when you become more awake, you start seeing these strange things. You start waking up to realizing that, wait a minute. And then sometimes you're in a store or somewheres, and you're walking, and all of a sudden the same people keep walking by you. I was in Mark's Work Warehouse one day, and I was standing there with somebody while they were looking at something, and this person, they were sitting on the bench thing behind, and they had been trying on their shoes. They picked up their shoes and they left. Like 5 seconds later, I look back, and they're picking up their shoes and they're leaving. Like, what? How is that possible? That's the weird stuff that's happening. The stuff in the sky, People are getting strange pictures. And it's all because as we wake up and we face our traumas and we move forward, we bring our vibration up. We become more happy. Like I've heard people say that, like, because the world is the way it is, they don't want to live in it. We just need to realize that we got to settle our differences. We got to look at the traumas. And I said, it started with the gods. And if the gods can change, then the people can change. Because the gods have been doing it for a very long time. Some of you read the Bible, some of you have heard the stories and what have you, and they tell us that like stuff is fiction. Well, it's not fiction. And they say it's your imagination. Well, your imagination came from what you've seen. It's a memory. And when we're kids, we're able to see stuff. And then it's like sometimes our imagination goes away. A lot of people are experiencing strange dreams, really strange dreams, where to them, and I've experienced it, you wake up and you're exhausted because of your dream. It's because, well, someone say, lady, you're crazy, but it's because it's what's happening. We're only allowed to be there for so long, and that's why we keep waking up so much through the night. And we wake up crying, we wake up freaked out. And I've told other people a number of times, and I actually spoke with somebody the other day, and they told me about a weird dream that they had. Okay? I had to turn that off. It's shining in my face. The weird dream, they told me that they were somewheres and they were baking donuts. Okay? That's a really strange dream. You're somewheres baking donuts. So I looked at the person and I was like, do you know anyone who works at Tim Hortons? Or anyone that makes donuts? And they said about this one person that works at Tim Hortons and makes donuts. So what I explained to them is, for some reason, you must have been thinking about them, of how they were doing or what have you. And what ends up happening, and some people think that that's right out to lunch and it's crazy, but no. What ends up happening is you're seeing through someone else's eyes. You've become that person for that time because you are connected. We are one. Okay? And when you think about other people, you dream. And I had somebody else tell me that they were dreaming that they were trying to get in a garbage bag. Okay? And it's like, but they woke up, they woke up very exhausted. And I'm wondering, okay, a garbage bag. Was this person someone who had like they were in someone else's body at that second when they passed, and they were being put in a body bag? Some of us are getting really frustrated and cranky because we're not understanding what's happening, and it gets really scary. And then it's like, well, you got to go to the doctor. You got to go to the doctor. You got to go see somebody because this is not normal. This is not normal. It's actually, it's normal. We just need to have someone who can help us understand what it is that we're going through and how we deal with it so that it doesn't cause us that trauma anymore. We start to understand, so it becomes easier and you bounce back. It's like, okay, I'm not going to dwell on it. It's like, see it and kind of let it go. And like I said, remember that it's not always you that you're seeing. I experienced a vision, dream, where I was walking down a road and two men come out and lit me on fire. It was like they were throwing an accelerant on me and they were lighting me on fire. And I was talking to somebody here a week and a half ago, just recently, just before Christmas. And they told me that they were somewheres and they witnessed, this is before I even told them about this, that they witnessed a man walking on the street and two men come up and threw those cocktail things, like those like monitory cocktails or whatever they're called, on this person and lit them on fire. He said that the man didn't know or think to stop, drop, and roll. And he's seen this man running on fire. And it was like I was that person, because I had that vision even before this person told me about it. We are other people because we have past lives. I believe in reincarnation and I believe in resurrection. There's not a lot that I don't believe in, because just because you can't see it don't mean it don't exist. And that's the part of our imagination. Like they say that, well, you have this wrong with you, you have that wrong with you. I hear somebody saying about someone, and they're always saying about them being autistic. Will you stop labeling people? I've heard someone say about people being so great, and then in another sentence they're calling the person a maggot. But they're saying about if it happens to them. Well, how are you any better? We're a reflection of ourselves. So what we judge to others is things that we don't like about ourselves, but we just don't want to admit it. Naive, maybe. We say that, oh, I like to be that person, or I like to be that person, or what have you. That's envy. Why would you want to be somebody else? Just because somebody has $1 million doesn't mean that they have a great life. Just because they haven't had the same kind of trauma as you, it doesn't mean that their life has always been great. Because everybody has the stuff that they're dealing with. We just don't want to admit it to other people, because that makes us feel like, well, if I admit it, then I'm weak. Well, no, you're not. Because it takes a strong person to admit to it. We are very strong. We're told we're weak. But we can get through any trauma. It's just a matter of finding the right person who can help you through it. I said a few weeks ago or what have you about this thing that they're bringing into play of mental health, people being able to have assisted suicide. We were talking about that the other day. And one person made a point, which is right. And it's like, well, people who have physical elements that are dying from, like actually dying from cancer or what have you, that wants to have assisted suicide, they have to have a clean bill of mental health, of sound mind, giving permission to say like, hey, I just want to end my life now. But they have to have a sound mind. But yet they're saying it's okay for a mental health patient who is not of sound mind to have this done. Right? They're manipulating the traumas. It's not in your best interest. And yeah, I've tried to take my own life. I've said that a number of times that I have. But I know now that that's not the way. Because there is something good for everyone. We just need to let go of the past instead of dwelling on it. Like they say, well, you got to remember it because it's what it makes you today. Well, yeah. Like I said, how many of you, because of your traumas, didn't become bitter before you got better? All of it. Right. We all became bitter. But we're waking up and we're realizing that we don't have to be that way. Family's supposed to help each other through traumas, not make them bury it. And not say, well, one person's trauma is more intense than the other, so yours don't matter because, oh, well, that was a long time ago. No, it's not a long time ago to that person. A lot of the time, it's like it happened to them just yesterday. So who are you to say that to them? Well, that was a long time ago. Whether it was a long time ago or not, then obviously you might want to wake up and see that that person has been living with that trauma for a very long time. Yeah, I am getting irritated with that part. Because it gets buried and it shouldn't. Because you got other family members that aren't your immediate family right there, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your sons, your daughters, what have you. They might be the person's uncle or what have you. But if there's a trauma in your family and other family members are throwing shade on it and manipulating you not to do anything about it or not to talk about it because it might bring shame on your family, I'm here to say, by not addressing it, you're bringing shame on it yourself. Because it gets worse. As we grow up, we're not victims because we're survivors of our traumas. Once we conquer them, once we get past them, we keep ourselves, we're victims of ourselves. As I said, we're afraid sometimes to look at it because it can be really ugly. And I said, like, from my trauma, I became very bitter. And I ended up not really trusting anyone. I became extremely promiscuous, and I'm not afraid to say it. And if certain people are listening to this and they're feeling ashamed of me or what have you because I'm coming out with this, then you're not the family that I want. We want to support a family because we're supposed to be there to help each other through everything. And then when it doesn't get addressed, we get into adulthood. And then it's even harder. It's harder to deal with. And like I said, we do get physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual injury because we give up. It's like you give up and you think, well, nobody loves me. It's not necessarily a matter of them not loving you. It's a matter of maybe it's happened to them themselves and it's just a reminder. But that's when we're all supposed to come together as a family and help each other through it, to deal with it. All parties involved. Because as I said, most trauma is caused from original trauma. It's like a bully is caused by a bully. So it becomes a very vicious circle. And this is the time that we need to stop that vicious circle. We need to stop pointing at each other and look at ourselves and helping one another instead of being in a civil war. Well, you did this to me, so I'm going to do that to you. And like, even if it's our ancestors that did it to someone, well, why are we getting blamed for what somebody else did? We didn't do it. So where's the logic and the reason in that? There is none. I said that, like, there's a bunch of different stories with regards to what Christmas signifies. Some don't even like it, and for reasons. Okay? They've experienced trauma from a past life or something. So now, it's like sitting there and taking a minute and going in here to see, like, okay, look at yourself and find out, like, is there a past trauma in your family that never got addressed? Maybe it's your own. Never really got addressed. It's never too late to address it. Even if the person is gone, you can still address it because you address it within you. You bring that frustration and you bring it, because if the person that caused trauma on you is deceased, you can resolve it. By resolving it within yourself and looking back and saying, like, okay, well, how can I help myself? But we should never make other people feel like they have to bury their trauma, because that is why the world is the way it is, because people just become angry and bitter. And that was never, it's not supposed to be happening. We are in the 21st century, okay, and we're still living like, we may not look like Neanderthals or whatever, and they actually got along better than we did. And the history books said, oh, well, they were fighting each other. I think they were more family oriented than we are in some degree right now, because look at what we're doing to each other. We're throwing shade, we're throwing insults, ignorance, judgment. I've said it before, judge yourself first. It's really hard because we think we're perfect. We don't have to be perfect. And we don't have to be ignorant to others who aren't either. They say practice makes perfect. For yourself. Other people don't have to think of you as being perfect, and you don't have to worry about whether they do or not. Be open to others and be understanding of others. And if somebody comes to you because they're having a hard time dealing with something, be open to hearing them. Because a lot of the time they're looking for help. They're looking for that person that can help them through it. And you just may be that person. Me, I like being that person. For a while, I got really bitter and I wanted to tell everyone to go F yourself because you're not helping me. So why should I even want to help you? But I shouldn't have been looking at that because that took me away from the person that I was. From what I always wanted to be. And that was a healer. To help people. To hear what they're saying and see what they're saying. To help them heal. But first, before I was like, I could do it, but I couldn't heal myself. Because it's always hard for us to take our own advice. That's where we practice what we preach. And that can be very difficult. But a lot of you know that. So, yes, I am that babbling woman. But I'm only babbling because I know from experience. And I'm hoping that it helps others to understand themselves and others. And instead of blowing people off, see if there's something that you have to offer to be able to help them. And I'm not talking money or anything like that. I'm talking about a heart, an ear. Don't let them drain you of yourself, because they have to be willing and wanting help. So I'm going to leave you all with that. And it's all going to work out. And I know people are very optimistic, and some people think, well, lady, how do you know it's all going to work out? Like, who are you? I'm Tara. That's who I am. And I am a firm believer that anything is possible if you put your heart, your soul, and your spirit and your wisdom into it. You can accomplish anything. And you can get through anything. Because as I said, you have much strength. And I'm not talking so much, like, I'm not talking like this kind of strength. Oh, I'm going to lift up a car. I'm talking about the inner strength. Iskiriana. Tuleshkala pototiaskira. Kitunomia. Miklele tuteliale. Ikuliata. Skriototene. Tukopatitata e kutitoriaska tutoniaskle tutobi. basically what I told you is don't be afraid to talk to someone, because there is someone out there for everyone that will listen. Free your mind and know that there are people there waiting to hear from you. Thank you. I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings, and most importantly, very good health to anyone and everyone wanting and willing to receive it. I want you to stay big, bold, and brave. And most importantly, be yourself. I love you all.